Minecraft's beaches are honestly shit. There's so much more that could be done to them, and that's why I'm taking it upon myself to create my own theoretical coastal update for Minecraft to maybe give Mojang some ideas. Now, I'll be trying my best to stick with the vanilla theme when it comes to the structures as well as the landscape related ideas. Yeah, basically, I'll just try my best not to go overboard. So, honestly, I'm extremely excited, so let's just get started, mate. Alright, so here is just a plain-ass, boring old Minecraft beach. And the first thing this theoretical coastal update could do is, well, an overhaul to all of the beaches. And well, I've got a boatload of ideas to improve them, so let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I did to start working on this beach is remove all of the water to allow us to easily modify the blocks of the ocean floor. I then went ahead and started using the slope tool, which allows us to set 2 points and essentially slope the terrain between them, which got me exactly the kind of landscape I was after. Now, because it was all stone, I simply went ahead and used the paint tool, set it to sand, and just simply replaced all of that stone over to sand to get that beach look I was after. To add the water back, I used a combination of Axiom's flood fill tool and WorldEdit's fix water command, and we were good as bloody new. Now, I really do have a lot of different structure ideas and just random stuff for this coastal update idea, but I have a couple other things I want to do to beaches in general first. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just kind of smoothing off this beach and making it look just a little bit more like a beach instead of, I don't know what the hell's going on here, to be honest. So I'm gonna get a quick time lapse done of just kind of terraforming this whole area, and we'll continue adding some extra cool stuff. Alright, so for the landscape, what I did next was smoothen off the area and add back in a general sort of slope you see in most beaches in real life. I also began adding a bit of a taller area at the back of the beach, along with placing plenty of trees on top for a more lush vibe. Okay, so there is our beach coming along bloody beautifully. The next thing I want to add is like some grassy dunes. I don't know, I love the look of that. You know, usually you can't really place grass in Minecraft on sand, at least. But with the Axiom mod, we can kind of make that happen. We're going to use the force place setting with Axiom, along with the no updates, so that we can place some grass on sand here. And so I essentially just want to add in like a couple of little kind of grassy dune sections towards the back here. And so first, to get the dunes added in, I used the rock tool set to sand and began adding some splotches here and there in sort of random patterns. Then to get the grass easily added onto those dunes, I used the script brush tool and played around with the values, along with setting up a mask, which then allowed us to easily paint on grass around the place. I got the tops of the dunes pretty densely packed with grass, and then set the brush to be more sparse in the placement and used that to add bits of grass around the dunes. Also, because the brush wasn't placing tall grass properly, I had to add that all in by hand. So there is our beach so far, coming along really nicely, definitely a massive difference from the vanilla ones. Now, another thing I felt this coastal update could add is a new tree to Minecraft that's honestly long overdue: palm trees. Holy crap, would these make beaches look so much better just on their own. So I spent some time creating a potential palm tree design, nice and tall with plenty of leaves towards the top. With that tree design created, I used the box select tool with Axiom and selected the tree and started copying it along the beach. To blend them in a bit better with the beach, I felt they could use some grass surrounding them, so I added that in by hand to each tree, and yeah, that definitely makes them look a lot better. Alright, and that is just about going to do it for my kind of beach overhaul. The next thing I want to do is actually start on some structures this update could add, with the first one to go on this little pinnacle I added right here, and that is a bit of a lighthouse. Now, it is going to be tough to build this, especially in like a default kind of vanilla style, but we'll see how we go. So I do want to get that red and white kind of lighthouse theme going, and for that I'm using some smooth quartz and red concrete, and I don't want this to be too big because it's just going to look kind of out of place for vanilla at least. Okay, that took a little while to get the shape right, but I ended up settling on this kind of style here, and obviously we don't have those red rings added in, so I'm just going to do that real quick and easily with the paint tool here. Actually, this really isn't that easy, eh? What the hell? So there we go. There is the base of our lighthouse tower. I think I'm going to reserve this central area here for the actual kind of lighthouse bit with the light. So we're going to click and place it right here. That's obviously not the shape that I want. Maybe a cone. Yes, that is perfect. That's exactly what I'm like kind of wanting. Let's increase the diameter a bit so it matches this down below. Maybe let's just add in a couple of slabs here and there. Yeah, that's made it feel way better already, just those couple of slabs. Something else we can do is maybe just add some supports here just to make it feel a little bit more supported, I guess. Never mind, I don't like those at all. Okay, I've made a couple of changes that definitely make this look way better. So I've just kind of brought this wall out a bit, and that's allowed us to add glass and then the sea lanterns in the middle. That looks way better. Now, obviously, it is very under-detailed, and that is, of course, on purpose because we're trying to get that vanilla style, of course. Now, I definitely think some windows will be perfect to add in here. We might just get a couple like that in the white strips. Then we could use some fence gates or maybe even just some fences as the kind of window there. So the next Okay, of course, that literally scared the crap out of me, dude. I thought I was about to blow up and die. Of course, the next thing we're going to need is a door up in here, so let's slap that on. What we might even do instead is actually elevate this up just for a little bit more kind of interesting feeling. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, dude. Just for something, I don't know, just interesting and different, instead of just a plain old frickin' stinking door on the bottom, you know? And then we can kind of have our staircase that'll wrap around the edges of this. And I don't know, that's about it that we can kind of fit in here, so... yeah, and down here, I don't know what we could add, maybe just some various kind of random crap around the place. But yeah, that's gonna do it for our lighthouse structure. This would obviously be like a pretty rare kind of thing that you'd stumble upon. I don't know what kind of loot would be generated in there, but I don't know, I just feel that's definitely needed for a bit of a coastal update. I just had another idea with lighthouses. Obviously, they're kind of protecting boats from something, and that is, of course, some jagged rocks. So I'm gonna use the old rock tool here to try and frickin' make some rocks sticking out. Why is this so, like, painful to use, man? So there we go, just some jagged rocks frickin' sticking out of the ocean, basically. There we go. I think that's looking really cool with those jagged rocks there. That just ties it all together. That looks so awesome. Okay, next structure that should probably generate on these new beaches is a fishing pier, of course. Maybe theoretically there could be like a ruined variant of this as well as a pristine variant, of course. So my idea, basically, this is going to be a very long... yeah, dock, like I just freaking said. I think just for some visual interest, we could probably get some spruce fences. And instead of just doing like the standard oak logs along the sides of it, we could maybe do something like this instead. Have spruce fences maybe every 5 blocks or so. And now underneath here, of course, it does need to connect down to the bottom of the ocean. And there's of course going to be a gap under here. So we have to add like another slab here, of course, which does, I don't know, I don't really like the look of that, but it's just what we got to do, you know? Okay, so that's the pier coming along quite nicely. I definitely do think we need to have like a couple of little offshoots at the end here, just so it's a little bit more interesting looking. And then I definitely feel a couple of like scattered storage blocks around the place is going to help just kind of make it look a little bit more lively, and maybe just get like a couple of scattered torches along these pier kind of thingies here. Yeah, there we go. Nothing too crazy, just a really cool, unique little structure that could spawn in these beaches. This next structure idea I actually got from this shipwreck I painted over with sand. Why don't we add some sunken bloody ruins, mate? So I cracked out the stone and started building what once might have been a tower of sorts that has since gotten flooded and taken over by the ocean. It ended up feeling a bit too intact, so I took some further chunks out to get it feeling more like ruins. I also felt it looked a bit weird being by itself, so I thought some simple stone pillars might go along with it nicely as just some sort of remnants of other buildings that were once standing here. I also thought, why not have this be a spot a chest could generate with some loot, maybe just similar stuff to what spawns in shipwreck chests. At this point, I'd realized the ocean was pretty bare, so I began adding in some seagrass to get some greenery back in. I then changed my script brush to include a bunch of different coral types and placed those in amongst the structures, just like how reefs sort of generate in real life. I don't know, dude. Okay, and now my next structure idea is a bit of a coastal village, okay? This is going to be a fairly simple kind of village, and I want it more so congregated to the back of this beach here, maybe hugging this kind of cliff face along there. So what I might do is use the elevation tool here to just smoothen this area off a little bit. I've been kind of debating on how I want the... oh, Jesus, okay, there goes all that grass. Oh well, that's fine. Yeah, I don't really know what block palette I want to do for these buildings. I feel like wooden kind of like rickety looking shacks might look the best. And an idea that I have just kind of on the top of my head that I really want to get added real quick is just like a little bit of a lean-to style building. So that can be one of like the house variants, just a little bit of a lean-to style building, and we can have some more established feeling shacks, I guess. So I did just try a circular style shack and it just did not work out or look good at all. So I think what I might do is like more of an A-frame style tent looking building. Something like that I reckon is gonna look pretty neat. Okay, there is my updated kind of beach shelter. I don't really know how vanilla feeling this is, but I just want it to feel more like a cobbled together kind of shack with just random pieces of wood and stuff used, I guess. And so as for what to put in here, I do want to get, of course, a bed. And as for just some random blocks, maybe we'll get like some storage and a crafting table and a furnace back here, maybe. All right, and for one final kind of building design that these beach villages could have is maybe just like a bit of a work site style undercover area, I guess. Yeah, something like that. Very simple, very, you know, plain. It's just That's just how it is. Maybe this could be like a blacksmithing area. We could get an anvil, a stone cutter, and maybe a smithing table as well. I'm just gonna lay these out in a bit of a nicer way. All right, there we go. That's looking pretty good. Now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just duplicate these 3 structures a bunch of times around the place. I might even add a couple more structures too, and just make this into more of like a village, you know? So let's get to it. All right, so first off, I started placing more of the wooden A-frame buildings around until getting the idea to add a bit of a strip of market stalls just for a splash of color. I changed the shape of them slightly and continued placing more buildings around, completing the layout of the village. All right, so obviously this is a pretty densely packed beach for an update, but I guess the idea is that all of these kind of things will be spread out across all of the beaches of Minecraft. But now, so moving on from this beach, I do have a couple more ideas for some interesting structures and kind of landscapes for the coastal update. So let's move our little butts over on to this bit of a rocky kind of section, which I think would be the perfect spot to kind of get some tide pools. Maybe even this area would work pretty nicely too. So to begin with the tide pools, I first used the elevation tool set to flatten and used it to separate this one big pool into 3 different ones. I then felt having this big pool go slightly into like a bit of a cave would look really nice, and I used the melt tool to achieve that. I then just hand placed a bunch of seagrass and various corals under here to make it feel super lush. Once again, I set up my script brush to place in some seagrass around in all 3 of these tide pools to give them a bit more life. I then felt a bit more structure in these pools would help it feel more organic, so I hand placed some stone to get some rock structures going. Now for the final touch, I used the rock tool to get some elevation in here, as currently it was quite flat, and well, doing this made the area look so much better, honestly. And yeah, so the idea of these tide pools would be that it'd essentially be its own coastal biome that could stretch along the coast, which would just look so good, man. Now, another really cool thing that I'd like to see as well is like just some big kind of coves. These already do kind of exist in the game, but I want like dedicated ones. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but just like these big freaking massive in-cove areas, like just stuff like this. We might even get like a bit of a slope going in here just for a more of like an inviting feeling kind of area. And then in here, we might get like a little bit of a beach or something going. Now, to expand on this idea, I ended up creating a big lump of rock over to the left here, as I planned on creating an ocean cave of sorts to go along with this cliff idea. So to begin, I grabbed the melt tool and used it to start taking big stinking chunks out of this rock and to turn it into a sort of shallow cave. Once it was all excavated, I used the paintbrush tool to turn everything back to stone, as well as the flood fill tool to get the ocean back in here. And well, literally just that on its own is such a cool formation that doesn't really appear as often as I'd like it to in Minecraft. Imagine a whole coastline filled with these bad boys. And well, I figured this ocean cave could have some different variants, like maybe a lush one. So I went to town placing in heaps of glowberries, moss and azaleas, and plenty of grass too. And so there's the same cave, just in a lush variant. Like legit, imagine stumbling upon this and creating a base here. It'd be such a nice spot. Just as I completed this, I ended up heading to a thrift store and found this book on French Polynesia, which just has some absolutely beautiful images, so I just had to buy it. I ended up finding this stunning picture of Tetiaroa, and that inspired me to make my own atoll in Minecraft. So I went out to the middle of the ocean in the same world and found a shallow section and started using the elevation tool to get the rough shape created. The water inside atolls usually seems to be a lot shallower than the surrounding ocean, so I made sure to reflect that here in mine, as well as lowering and flattening the terrain. I changed the blocks to sand and grass and then began adding the same structures I created earlier in the video to the central island. And now it's time for the part I was looking forward to the most, filling all the island with plenty of grass and trees. And yeah, if you want to download this world and kind of explore these structures for yourself, be sure to check out my Patreon, as the download will be up over there. Alright, well, if you want to watch me survive 100 days in an ocean-only world, be sure to check out this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.